Hello and welcome to my reading log for December of 2024. My last reading log of 2024, even though I'm filming it in 2025. We're going to be talking about the books that I read in December. And obviously there is one, it's a webtoon. It's like it's American, but it's kind of done in the style of a manga. The rest of the manga, obviously. Anyway, let's get in to the video and talk about what I read during the last month of 2024. And the first thing I read last month in December on the 1st, is Freaking Romance Volume 2. This is the manhwa inspired, well, it's an OEL, so original English language work, but it's like kind of with the art style and everything is kind of inspired by manhwa. I gave this 4 stars. Again, I do really like this series. The second volume was good. We had some drama revolving around her dad. We had some drama revolving around her friend, because obviously the plot for this one is she moves into an apartment because her dad kicks her out of the house because she went against his wishes, because she wants to be an artist and he wants her to get a proper job, as he describes it. So she gets kicked out of the house and she rents this apartment, which is supposed to be haunted because she sees this guy there, but he's not actually a ghost. He's something else, and we do get some more explanation to what's actually going on in this volume, but kind of more just speculation than actual proper answers at the minute. But yeah, so she's now living in this apartment with this guy, and he can't hear or see her, but she can hear and see him. So yeah, I do like the series. Again, the only thing I have with it that I am not keen on is the way they speak. Our main character here, especially, she speaks with she's very cringy. She quotes a lot of memes, and she speaks kind of like a new gen teenager, and it can be a bit kind of cringe and annoying at times, but I do like the series. I like the story, and other than their dialect and the way they speak, I do like the characters too. There is some questions going around about this guy though, and is he actually who he says he is, and is he actually a nice person and stuff, because there's some scenes in there where you kind of question that. But yeah, I really like this volume. Our main character, I forget her name, it begins with a Z. Zirif. She's Zirif, he's Zarin or something like that. Both their names start with a Z, but the art is quite pretty. I do quite like the art. But she is bisexual, and she has this friend who she's been friends with for a while, who is a girl, and she's crushing on her a little bit. So this volume she was trying to maybe ask her out, but she doesn't think her friend has feelings for her like that, and it did end on a cliffhanger, so I have to wait until the next volume to see what happens next. But I also want to talk about the difference between Volume 2 and Volume 1. I didn't notice this when I bought it. I only noticed this once I put it on the shelf next to the first volume, but this is published by Webtoon, by the way. Look at the difference in height between Volumes 1 and 2. It's ridiculous. You put this on the shelf and it looks like a staircase. So Volume 1 is also, the paper in it is heavier and it's glossy. That glossy comic paper. But in Volume 2 it's more the matte paper. And it doesn't feel as heavy, it feels lighter. But I do actually prefer this matte paper over the glossy paper. I just, that doesn't bother me that they changed the paper. It's just, couldn't they make them the same size? Because these go on my manga shelf, which is like 90% manga now. There's still a few manga filling in gaps on that shelf. But even putting this against one edge of the shelf is a step, and it looks kind of stupid, but I'm guessing the rest of the volumes are going to be the size of the second one. Will they reprint volume 1 and make it the same size, or is it just going to stay this size? But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it did annoy me a bit. But yeah, I did like this one. Next, on the 2nd, I read Sweets for Sweets and Foreigners, and I gave this 3.5 stars. This is a josei. It's only 2 volumes. It's published by Tokyo Pop. I do like the art. It's quite nice. It's about a woman who works at this like company. It's like a confectioner business where they like come up with designs for new sweets to sell to like shops and supermarkets and stuff. And she is like working with this other company on a project, and he is like the leader of this project on the other company's side. And he's French. I think he's French. He might be Italian, but I think he's French. And obviously, she kind of likes him. And yeah, it is a romance, and it's only 2 volumes. But I did enjoy this first volume. I did think it was good. Obviously, we're halfway through the series with this first volume. I will definitely read the second one because I did enjoy this first volume, and we don't get that many josei in English. So even if it is a 2-volume series, if I do like the sound of it in any way, I want to support the josei. But yeah, this one is definitely worth reading, I would say. A nice quick read, a office romance with a French guy. Yeah, it was good. Next, on the 3rd, I read the 6th volume of Eccentric Doctor of the Moonflower Kingdom. This volume is... I like this volume more than the previous volume. The previous volume was very political. It was like setting up this sort of thing that's happening, and a lot of it concentrated on Kion, the prince, in like talks discussing what's happening in this village. But this volume gets more into investigating and finding out what's actually happening, and it was less like just sitting around in the palace discussing things. Which I did like the previous volume, but it was mainly just like setting up the beginning of what's happening in this volume, and then obviously continuing on into the next one. And there's also a part in the beginning with our main character. I forget her name because, of course, I do. There's some nice colour art in the beginning there. But what is her name again? Yeah, there's some stuff in this volume begins with her trying to treat this guy's he thinks it's a condition called grit eye. I don't know if that's just what they call it in this, and it actually has a different name. But she's trying to treat this guy for grit eye, and then it moves on to this continuing what the previous volume was about. Yeah, it does end on like a cliffhanger, and we have questions as to what's actually going on. So yeah, looking forward to the next one. Although I do have a pretty good idea of what's causing this, what's happening in the village. So we'll see if I'm right when I read volume 7. And next, on the 4th, I read Whoever Steals This Book, volume 2. This is 3.5 stars I gave that one. I gave Eccentric Doctor 4 stars. This one is about a girl who lives in a town of books who herself is not a fan of books, and her family owns this like giant sort of library place, but it's not really a library because it's not open to the public. It used to be, but her grandmother shut it down. she lives there, and her family's job is to like oversee the books and take care of the books and stuff. So her aunt kind of lives there, and her dad's in charge. And there's kind of like a curse on this place when nobody other than a member of their family can take a book out. Because if they do, this curse will activate, and the curse is that the town itself turns into a book. They have to kind of go inside the book to find the thief. So she's teamed up with this fox wolf girl who just appears out of nowhere whenever the curse is activated, and they have to like find the thief and investigate who the thief is. In the second volume, we're continuing on like the LA Noir style book they were in at the end of the previous one, and then we kind of go into like a fantasy book after that, which I quite like the fantasy book they were in. It's quite like a steampunk sort of setting with fantasy, but they're still in that book as of right now. And the next volume is the last one. Interesting to see what happens and to get the questions answered that are going around. Yeah, I am enjoying this series. I like the premise of them like having to go into the different books and find the thief, so you get quite a few different settings. There's this dragon here with like a fish tail and her aunt. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. Next, on the 5th, I read Kowloon Generic Romance Volume 7. I gave this 4 stars. There's some questions being answered in this one revolving around like Kowloon itself and the people there, but still there's still loads of questions. This is getting an anime, and I think it comes out this year. Not sure what season though. I don't think it's airing this season, but I am looking forward to watching it. So yeah, there's still so many questions revolving around Kowloon, the people there, what the people are, why things are as they are, questions revolving around the Heavy Numa, I think it's pronounced, group, and then our main character, and yeah, it's certainly not generic, that's for sure. It's like, it's sci-fi, romance, mystery, I would say. But yeah, you get like each volume answers a few questions and then gives you like loads more. But yeah, I really like this series. It's so interesting, and I don't think I've read anything that's kind of similar to it. Obviously, I've read sci-fi, but not like this one. But yeah, how did this volume end again? Oh yeah. It's not too much of a cliffhanger that this one ended on. So yeah, looking forward to... I think 8 is out. I think 9 is possibly out too. I think I am behind on this. But yeah, it's good. 4 stars. Next, I didn't read anything on the 6th. Then on the 7th, I read Wolf Girl Black Prince Volume 7, which I gave 3.5 stars. This is the first volume past where the anime ended. Now, I watched the anime years ago, but I still kind of remember what went on. And like reading the manga up to Volume 6 refreshed my mind, because I was like, oh yeah, I remember this from the anime. So yeah, this is past where the anime ended. And this one introduces a new character. It's our main character, Erica's cousin. Is it her cousin? I think it's her cousin. Yeah, it's her cousin. This volume introduces Erica's cousin, and she is quite annoying. So I wasn't a fan of her, but I did enjoy reading past the end of where the anime was up to. There was also like a side, like a couple of chapters focusing on a side character too, which were fine. I quite like that side character, but yeah, the cousin is kind of annoying, so I'm not a big fan of her. So hopefully, after this storyline concludes, and hopefully the next volume, she will not be in it anymore, or at least not very often, because I can't see this storyline lasting too much longer. So hopefully that will conclude in the next one, and she can just fade into the background. yeah, overall I did enjoy it though. Next, on the 8th, I read Nina the Starry Bride Volume 5. I gave this 4 stars, and now this volume made me like Set. So now I'm unsure whether I want her at Set or whether I want her with Azor, because I like both of them now. I liked Azor more at first because obviously he was the only one in it at first, and then Set was introduced, and Set was a dick, and he did some horrible things. But then you learn his backstory, and he kind of calms down a bit. And then this volume, he was quite sweet, so I like Set now, and I like Azor. So I'm not sure right at this moment who I ship her with, because I like them both. I don't think I would mind regardless of which one she picks, because I really like Azor, but now this volume made me really like Set as well. So yeah. Regardless of who she picks, I think I'll be happy. Maybe as the series goes on, I'll start favouring one over the other again, but as of right now, I like them both, and I would be happy either way. And also the fantasy stuff was good in this volume too. Obviously there was like, we met the king of Set's country. They have been introduced now. Obviously we'd already met Set's brothers in the previous volume, but now we've been introduced to the king. And there's like this tournament going on where like the princes don't compete, but they like have a champion who competes for them, and they're like competing in the tournament. Yeah, this was a good volume, and yeah, I like them both now. As I said, as the series goes on, I might go one way or the other, but right now I like them both. Nina the Starry Bride was one of my runners-up for my top 10. It wasn't one of my top 10 reads of last year, but it was an honourable mention. And the anime's just finished, so I'm probably going to be watching that soon. Next, on the 9th, I read Eternal Sabbath Volume 6, which I gave 4 stars. I've got 2 more volumes of this, and then that will be finished. And once I finish Eternal Sabbath, I'm going to start reading Fuyumi Soro's other work, Mars. As it says from the creator of Mars on there, because I do have all of Mars apart from the prequel spin-off volume. So I want to finish this first, and then I want to start reading that this year, and have that be like one of my goals, to maybe finish Mars by the end of the year, although I don't know if I will. So yeah, this is a sci-fi series. It's a seinen, and it follows a scientist called Mine Kujiu, and she studies the brain, and then she's introduced to this guy who's known as an Eternal Sabbath, or an ES, and he was made in a lab, and he can control people's minds and kind of read their thoughts and like make them change their memories to think that they're experiencing something they haven't, and make them like hallucinate and stuff. He basically has complete control over the human brain, but he can't control her mind. There's certain people whose minds he can't touch, and she's one of them. And he escaped the lab along with Isaac, who is his clone, but like a younger version of him, because they didn't want to do experiments on him because he was the original, and they didn't want to like mess with the original and then lose all their progress, so they cloned him so they could like mess with the clone. And Isaac knew what they were going to do because obviously he could read their minds, so he escaped the facility, and now he's causing havoc. So now Mine has teamed up with, I forget his name, the other ES, the original. He goes by multiple names because obviously he changes his identity. And she teams up with him to try and stop Isaac. This volume was definitely interesting. A lot went on. Isaac is kind of friends with this little girl who goes to his school because he's pretending to be this boy. He's like altered the family's memories to think that he is their son. And a lot went on with her and her family in this volume, and some tragedies. And then, obviously, it ends on a cliffhanger, but so. I just got 7 and 8 to read now. I will probably, maybe, read them both this month at some point. Hopefully. So I can then maybe start and get to Mars next month. So yeah, this was good. And on the 10th, I didn't read anything. On the 11th, I read Loving Yamada, My Web Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. This was good. We're still in anime content at this point. This is the volume that introduces... There's a girl in Yamada's class who, like, sort of joins the game that they play, and this volume introduces her. I definitely remember this part from the anime. The anime is very good. I did enjoy it, which is why I wanted to pick up the manga. But yeah, I very love the anime, and I'm loving the manga too. I think maybe volume 4 or 5 will conclude the anime content, and then I don't think it'll be too much longer until we pass the anime and we get into new content. But I'm looking forward to that, because obviously I do enjoy these volumes, but I have watched these parts. And it is pretty much the same. It was actually a very good adaptation. It didn't really miss anything out. Or it didn't really change anything either. But yeah. Akane gets ill in this volume. Yamada has to take care of her. And that's like kind of a trope in like romance, isn't it? Where one of them ends up sick at some point. And yeah, we was introduced to Yamada's classmate. Again, good volume. 4 stars. Next, on the 12th and then the 13th, I read Honey Lemon Soda 6 and 7. Oops. This, like, volume 6 concluded the stuff with Uka's dad. And then volume 7 was the sports festival. And yeah, I want to read volume 8 because the way volume 7 ended, I'm like, yes, give me the next one. I don't think volume 8's out. It might be. So yeah, volume 6 continued the storyline with Uka's dad from the previous volume. And that was concluded. And then volume 7 was the, was it a sports festival or a cultural festival? I think it was a sports festival. But yeah, really enjoy this manga. I think it's super cute. It's super nice. It's kind of like a bit like Kimi ni Todoke, where you have a very shy girl who is not good at making friends or really talking to people. She kind of stands out. She was bullied in middle school she was called Rocky because she was like a statue. She would just freeze up and not know what to do when someone spoke to her. So that's how she got the nickname. And now she's in high school and she kind of wants to make a change and like make friends and stuff. And she meets Kai. I don't actually know if his name's Kai or Kai, but the blonde dude. And she compares him to Honey Lemon Soda because he's sweet like honey, but he can also be quite sour like lemon soda. And he starts to kind of help her kind of build friendships. She is a kind of like Sawako, as in she's shy, she's kind, she's sweet. He's not really like Kazuhaya though. He's a bit more of a jerk. He's not really a jerk, but he's not like super friendly and like friends with everyone like Kazuhaya is. He's more... He can be a bit more blunt and a bit more cold. But not so much towards his friends. Just he can be a bit like harsh with people because he kind of just says what he's thinking. But yeah, it's very good and I like it. And the anime's just started. I think episode 1's out, but I'm gonna wait till it finishes and I'm gonna hope it gets a dub so I can just binge it when it's ended. But yeah, It's only 12 episodes, but because it's such a popular series, I'm hoping for a season 2 as well. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you like high school romance and if you like Kimi to Doke as well. I haven't read Kimi to Doke, but I've watched the 3 seasons of the anime. I don't think I would read Kimi to Doke for the sole reason is it's like 30 volumes and I don't have the space for it. But I did like Kimi to Doke. If it was shorter, I probably would have picked it up, but with it being so long, I just don't have the space. I suppose I could read it digitally, but I'm not very a fan of reading digitally. But yeah, if I had the shelf space, I possibly would have picked that up. Next, on the 14th, I read Pop Opposites Attract Volume 2, and I gave this 4 stars. This was good. More cute doggy stuff. This volume introduces this new girl, and she has a Shiba Inu called... I forgot what the Shiba Inu is called, but the Shiba Inu is cute. He's like a little old man. Anarchy, that's his name. I think he is older, but yeah, he's like a little old man in a kimono, and he's very cute. But yeah, she got some chapters, and then we got some chapters with the Rottweiler and the Pomeranian, and these two just continuing to like build a relationship. And the Rottweiler is adorable. And I did go back and I did check volume 1. And the Rottweiler most of the time is drawn without eyes in the first volume as well. I just didn't notice, so that's not something new for volume 2. It occasionally does have eyes, but a lot of the time it's just drawn without them for some reason. Maybe because it's black on black. Let's see if I can... Yeah. It has eyes up there, but a lot of the time it's just drawn without eyes. But it's still very cute. I really like big dogs. Rowan is in fact in the room with me right now. Jetta's not in the room with me because she would eat the room if she was in here. So she's downstairs. Yeah, if you like cute slice of life with a bit of romance and of course adorable puppers, I would recommend this. It was one of my top 10 reads of the year. It had to be because puppers. You can't beat a pupper. Next, on the 15th, I read 15 minutes before we very date, so I read 15 on the 15th. I gave this 4 stars. This is good. This is cute slice of life high school romance. Following the art style is also very cute. This was also one of my top reads of the year. It's 4 volumes in total. It's not a long series. It's 6 volumes total in Japan, but these must be 1.5 and 1. So the Japanese volumes must be very skinny because it concludes at 4 volumes in English. And I did check, and volume 4 does end the series at the same place the Japanese volumes do. So it's not like they just didn't continue it and not license for 5 and 6. It's more that they just put 1.5 volumes in 1 and made it thicker. So we're not missing the last 2 volumes, it's just condensed into fewer. But yeah, you can tell by this one that it's coming to a conclusion, but yeah. It's kind of sweet, episodic chapters, but it kind of gets more of a story towards like volume 3 and 4 compared to 1 and 2. Obviously the chapters are linear, they do continue, but they are like episodic. And this couple, they're in the 3rd year of high school, they've never been in a relationship, so they think, why not just date each other, see what that's like, so we can at least experience having a partner before we graduate. And they start dating each other. And they say if it doesn't work out after a year, we can just break up and go back to being friends. Because they're childhood friends and they live next door to each other. So yeah, and this is basically just cute chapters of their relationship. And it's just adorable. It's wholesome and it's cute. There isn't any like fan service or anything. Even though I do think this is either a shonen or it doesn't have a demographic. Some people say shonen, but I can't actually find a demographic online, so I'm unsure. But yeah, it's just super wholesome and sweet. And if you like that sort of thing, check this one out. Next, on the 16th, I read A Suitable Fetish, Volume 1. I gave this 3.5 stars. This was strange. This was strange. So every character in this kind of has like a different fetish. Although one of the guys, you can't really call it a fetish because it was more of a job he used to have, so it's not really a fetish. But our main character here, when she was I think in middle school or high school, she watched a porn video with her friends, and her friends were just laughing at it because it was like super like fetishy porn. It wasn't like just vanilla. But she was kind of enamored by it. And now she kind of has a fetish for kind of the Kama Sutra, and just trying out different sex positions in the Kama Sutra. Most of them involving ties and being like tied to either the other person or the bed or something like that. So she kind of likes sex positions that involve around being tied up. But she tends to be... the guy tends to be the one who's tied up, or they're tied to each other. But yeah, she has a fetish for that, and she works in this office. I think they make... what do they make? Toys or accessories or something like that? Dolls. They make dolls. They're a doll company. So this is her co-worker. And I can't quite remember why, but he ends up owing her a favour. And I can't remember why he ends up owing her a favour. But yeah, they go on a business trip together due to somebody messing up a doll order. And she ends up confessing to him about her fetish and being like, as my favour, can you do these sex positions with me? And he's like, oh, okay. But he actually has he's a masochist. He likes being degraded. He likes being like dominated. He likes being degraded. He likes being like told off and stuff like that. So being tied up and being like forced to humiliate himself turns him on. So yeah, they do it basically because it's Steam Shiver. Of course they do it. But then there's another character, and he used to work in like the sex industry, which isn't maybe a fetish. He just works in the sex industry. And then there's a character at the end. It's kind of hinted at that he has a fetish too. But yeah, it's kind of just hinted at that he has a fetish. And I think the fetish may revolve around teddy bears. Because he's like taking this teddy bear out the cupboard and he's like talking to it. So that'll be interesting to see in the next volume. I don't think it's a long series. I don't think it's over 5 volumes anyway. But yeah, it was weird. I enjoyed it. It was quite fun. It had some like funny moments to it, but it was weird. So yeah, if you're interested in the sound of that, just exploring different fetishes with each of the characters, then maybe give this one a go. The sex scenes in it weren't too explicit. It kind of like showed the beginning when they're like getting into the positions and kind of starting the act, but it kind of doesn't really show the full thing. It kind of just shows a little bit, kind of, and then skips past it. So it's not the most explicit steamship title. It is only rated 17 and not 18, but yeah. It never shows any nipples or parts or anything like that. But yeah, it was enjoyable, but strange. And I'm kind of a bit concerned about whether this guy ends up shoving it into a teddy bear. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. This series of Strange, I wouldn't put it past it. Next, on the 17th, I read A Sign of Affection 10. I gave this 4.5 stars. I really like A Sign of Affection. It continues to be cute. and we're introducing this character to we're introducing this volume to a character that Itsunomi used to go backpacking with. And I think Itsunomi's now getting close to telling Yuki about his past. And, like, finally finding out more about him and his reasons for traveling and all that. I think that's coming soon. Because he seems to be gearing up for that sort of conversation. Because he's already told her dad. But we as readers don't yet know. But I think he's kind of gearing up and getting himself prepared to actually tell her now. But yeah, this volume was good. Super sweet, as always. Next, on the 18th, I read another dessert title. And that is In the Creamery at Dusk, Volume 7. I gave this 4 stars. I did have to go back and skim through the couple of previous volumes to kind of remember what happened, because it's been a while since I read the volume 6, so I just went and skimmed through 5 and 6 quickly. I didn't reread them, I just kind of flicked through. But yeah, this volume was good. Is this series ended, or was it ending? Or, because I saw, like, stuff about it on Twitter, and I wasn't sure whether it was the ending or not that people were talking about, or whether it was just something else. Because it was something about a cover of one of the volumes that someone was going on about, and I don't know if it was the final volume cover, because it was kind of being compared to the first volume cover. I wasn't really paying attention to what was being talked about. I just saw the covers kind of being compared. So I don't know if it's finished or whether that was just a random volume or not. Anyway, I like this series. Yeah, I think there's just some drama going around about something to do with the main girl, and I don't know. Half of the time I don't pay attention to what the drama on Twitter. So I don't actually know what the controversy around her was, but there was some people talking about something to do with her. So yeah, but I'm enjoying the series, and whatever. I like it. And I've enjoyed this volume. I think this was like a cultural festival. So yeah, this was like a cultural festival. So we had a sports festival in Honeymoon Soda and a culture festival in the Creamery at Dusk. I like this volume. And then we have I'll Never Be Your Crown Princess Betrothed, Volume 1. This is the continuation to the previous part, obviously. I give this 4 stars. This is nice, cool work. This one's slightly more smutty than A Suitable Fetish. This one is also just rated 17 though. So I do like the ninja dude who was introduced in the previous volume. I quite like him. Obviously, he's not a love interest. It's not going to be a love triangle sort of thing. Which if he was, I probably wouldn't like him as much. But yeah, there's some sex, and then there's some sex, and then we're introduced to some more members of his family, and there's I think it's his cousin who's a bit of an arse. We're introduced to him, and yeah, then they have sex again. It's steamship, and yeah, it's good. This one actually shows the nipple, unlike the other one. So yeah, and Freed talks about his libido. So we learn more about his family's kind of libido issues in this volume as well. Next, on the 20th, I read a new volume 1. This is the first new volume 1 of the month. No, that would be Sweet for Sweets and Foreigners. And A Suitable Fetish. This is the third volume 1 of the month. That is Diary of a Female Lead. This is it's a Betsukomi series. It's published in the same magazine as Queen's Quality. And I think Queen's Quality is ended now. Last time I looked, it said 2 chapters, but that was a while ago. I know 25 is going to be the final volume, though. Which is sad and kind of glad at the same time, so that it's not going to like go on forever. But anyway, though, this is from the same magazine. I keep going off at tangents. Yeah, I know this was like a popular Better Call Me series because people are happy when it got announced, but if it's not a Hannah Yume manga, I don't tend to know what's unlicensed in magazines. Oh, not. I know some Lala ones as well. But yeah, this is about a girl whose mother is a famous mangaka who writes shoujo series. And she wants her daughter to experience a romance like in a shoujo manga, but her daughter's kind of been put off romance a bit because it's never like manga. It's never like super sensationalized like it is a manga, and she's just not that interested. But she has an older brother who's quite... he can be a bit doting on her, and he's like... wants to help her out with maybe finding her first boyfriend and getting friends, because she doesn't have any friends either because she's very quiet in school. And she's not that bothered. But then her brother's best friend, her brother plays some sort of sport, I can't remember. But this guy here, he is in her class. I think she's in her first year and her brother's in his second year. So yeah, he's in this first year as well, obviously. But he joins her class. And he starts coming around to the house, and the two of them are like, let's like help you make friends and possibly get a boyfriend. And she's kind of reluctant at first, but then she kind of opens up to the idea. Because she's like, okay. So her brother and the friend are kind of helping her have like a high school grow up sort of thing. Where they're trying to like see if she like is into anyone, and there's kind of a guy who's in this poem who she's kind of crushing on a little bit by the end, so we're kind of going to like see where that sort of goes, but it's quite obvious that she's probably gonna get with a friend at some point because he's like the main male lead. So yeah, really like this first volume. Interested to read more. Did I say that I gave this 4 stars? I gave this 4 stars. Next, on the 21st, 22nd, and 20... yeah, I read 1 on the 21st, 2 on the 22nd. So I read Ice Sky and Cool Girl 6, 7, and 8. So I read this one on the 21st, and then these 2 on the 27th, 22nd, because they don't take very long to read. They're super skinny volumes, but you were past where the anime ended now. There was 1 chapter in volume 6 that was in the anime, and that's the one where they go round to watch a horror movie at his house. The rest is all like original. It's new content to me. So there's some stuff about like the Phoenix guy and the girl he likes in volume 6, and then volume 7 concentrated quite a bit on the fox girl and the black hair guy. And then volume 8, the way it ended, we might finally be getting somewhere. And I'm looking forward to volume 9, because I think volume 9 is going to be the volume where a certain thing's going to happen. And I'm like, yes. Yeah, I really like the series. It's a josei office romance. The characters are super cute and endearing, and I really like these two. Himuro is like a cinnamon roll. And the covers are also very nice. I especially like this one. But yeah, they are super skinny though. But it's like Square Enix, and I think Square Enix that might be allergic to doing volumes that are thicker than this. Although Tokyo Aliens is slightly thicker, and that's Square Enix. Yeah, the colour images inside are also really nice. So yes, I really like this series, and it's adorable. Next, where am I up to? The 23rd. It took me Does that say? I can't see what that says. Does that say? That says the 23rd plus the 24th. So it took me 2 days to read this. And that is Roman Cast on the Mirror Volume 4. I gave this 5 stars because I adore this series. This volume, we got some answers to some things. But there's also, like, we got more answers as to, like, the castle and the wishes, kind of. They kind of have an idea about the key now and where it is and stuff like that. But there's, like, a reveal on the very last page. And it's kind of going into some of the characters' backstories, and especially Aki. I think we can get her backstory because there's something going on. I can't really say. But it was on her. And she's the only one who we really haven't heard much about their background yet. But I think there's possibly some, like, abuse in her family or at school or something by the way, like, she behaves and stuff. And yeah, I'm looking forward to learning more about her and seeing how this concludes in the final volume, which is volume 5. The film has also been picked up by Anime Limited, and I pre-ordered it, and that comes out this month. But I don't know if I want to wait till after I finish the last volume before I watch the film, because obviously it would spoil it otherwise. And then I also want to check out the novel. But yeah, Roman Cast on the Mirror is great. It's like a coming-of-age drama. Sort of. Slight fantasy sort of series. 25th, I read nothing. 26th, which is Boxing Day, I read Delinquent Daddy and Tender Teacher. So yeah, I read Christmas Eve, I skipped Christmas Day and had that day off, and then I read Boxing Day. I gave this 4 stars. This is a sweet, cute, wholesome 2 guys. Obviously in a relationship. He's the kid's teacher, he's the kid's dad. He recently, like, lost his wife. And he's living on his own with his son, and he's kind of not a bit unsure about whether he's being a good parent. He's not sure about how to do all the housework, so he kind of comes around and starts helping him out, and then they fall for each other, and they kind of become a little family with the 2 of them and the little boy. And it's just very sweet and cute to see them, like, build a relationship and just all the cute moments they have together, because they did meet in high school and he's crushed on him since high school, but obviously he didn't really announce his feelings or anything, and then they kind of grew up, left school, he got married to a woman, had a kid, his wife then, I think they divorced, then his wife died, or maybe his wife died and they didn't divorce, I'm not sure, can't quite remember. But yeah, and he became a teacher, and yeah, it's good, it's super cute, super wholesome. If there is some smut scenes, it is 17 plus, but they're not too explicit. So if you want a very cute, sweet, wholesome BL with, like, a family dynamic, pick this one up. It's great. Yeah, and there's the nice high school image of them in colour. This is volume... Yeah, I think volume 1 was originally a one-shot, then volume 2 was a one-shot, and then, like, 3, 4, 5, 6, possibly 7 is, like, a continuing series. Because it's known as the Four-Leaf Clover. Oh, Mr. Diggs, you fruit against me back. He's lying resting on me back. Next, I have, on the 27th, I read Yona 42, which I gave 4.5 stars. I absolutely love Yona, but I can say absolutely nothing about this volume without spoiling anything. The cover's nice. We have Gija and Jiha here, and Zeno and Shinha on the back with Ow and some sparrows. Yeah, it's a nice cover. But as for the story, I can't mention a single thing because we're 42 volumes in and it would spoil it. But I can say that it was good because it was good, and some stuff's happening with the dragons, and there's a war. And I can't really say much else without spoiling it, but just know it's great. I am up to date with the owner online. I do read the chapters online because I just can't wait for the volumes to come out. So I'm actually ahead of this volume. I think the latest chapter I looked at was the one before, the one that has just come out. So I still need to go have a look at that one. So yeah, I do know what's gonna happen in the next like 2-3 volumes. But yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it's great. Yona is the only series I read online with because I used to do it with Given too, but Given's ended. But I'm weird, and I like spoilers, and I like to look up how series end after I finish the first volume. So I'm like, oh, this first volume was good. I'm gonna look up the ending. So yeah, and there's sometimes when I'm like halfway through a series, and I'm like, I'm gonna go online. I'm gonna look up the ending. So yeah, I'm weird. I like spoilers, so don't ever worry about spoiling me on anything, because I don't mind. I do it to myself deliberately. The only thing I don't tend to spoil is mysteries. Any other genre, I'm like, I'm gonna look up the ending. I'm the type of person who reads the end of a book before I even start it. My mum does the same thing. I get it from her. So, next, on the 28th, I read Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun 15. Gave this 4 stars. This was great. This is just comedy. It's for coma, but it does have chapters, and the chapters do follow along from each other. So this follows along to this. So yeah, it's very good. It's a shonen, but he's a shoujo manga author, and it kind of takes the piss out of like shoujo tropes and stuff. And the characters are all likable. The characters are all whimsical. They're all funny. They're all quirky. And there's not a single one that I like dislike. I like Nozaki. I like Sakura. I like Kashimun. Hori is his name, right? I think so. I like Mikashiba and Wakamatsu and Sao, and I'm not as bothered about Nozaki's brother. I don't hate him or anything. He just doesn't stand out as much as the other characters. And then this is his neighbor. She's fun. And then this is he is her older brother, and he's a college student. He likes the neighbor. So yeah, it's just a good time. All the characters are super likable. The chapters are fun. The chapter with the which chapter was it? Oh, the chapter with, was it Hori or was it Wakamatsu? No, it was these two. He was trying to get some he likes her, and he was trying to figure out what he should do to about the fact that he likes her by reading shoujo manga. And what he gets out of reading it is that the most important parts are like the inner monologues, which you see floating in like bubbles in the air, and he's like, that's what I need. So he makes this like whiteboard with these bubbles on, and then he speaks out loud, and he's like holding up his thoughts on this whiteboard because he read in the shoujo manga. So yeah, that was a good chapter. I like that one. And there's one where Sakura buys like a doll. It's kind of like a figurine, but it's like a naked posable figurine, and she buys it because it looks like Nozaki, and she wants some clothes for it, but they don't fit. And there's one where Mikashiba is crushing on a girl in a idol game, like an idol dating simulator sort of game, and he's trying to have them guess which one he likes, and they're kind of bad at it. And the one with Hori and Kashima, where Kashima accidentally steals a kiss from Hori because somebody knocks her over on top of him. And obviously, normally in shoujo you get accidental kisses, and they make a big deal out of it, and they get super dramatic with it. But she's just it happened. And he's just and the people in the drama club are trying to make a big deal out of it, and they're trying to make it seem like they like think it's like this massive thing, but Kashima's just like, I'm not bothered. It's just something that happened. But they're making out like Hori is making a big deal out of it, but Hori's just more bothered at the fact that Kashima's not bothered than he is himself is also not that bothered. So yeah, it's kind of the comedy around that, and the drama club trying to make the two of them act, because they're obviously in a drama club, like they think it's a big deal. Yeah, and they're just like, the whole club is just acting at this point. But yeah, the chapters are kind of episodic. It does have, obviously, the characters' relationships do grow a bit, so there's not that much. There hasn't been a lot of development between any of the romances within 15 volumes, but that's not really the point. It's a comedy. It's more about the comedic situations they find themselves in. So there has been a little bit of growth in relationships, but not much, because the chapters are episodic, and they're all about different scenarios. And yeah, it's just like it's my favorite comedy. It's great. What other chapters? Oh yeah, the one at the end where they're having a sleepover and they're all trying to make the guys jealous by sending everyone pictures of them standing next to Sal's brother, but none of them are really falling for it. It just takes scenarios you would see in like shoujo or romance in general and turns it on its head and makes it a comedy. It's great. Next, on the 29th, I read A Reincarnated Witch Bells 2.5. I gave this 4 stars. I enjoyed this. I'm liking this new arc. This is the prince of the kingdom that they're currently in. This is Keith, obviously. And there's a dragon. So they're kind of finished. Like, the previous, storyline lasted from, volumes 3 and 4. And this is, a new storyline, and there's, a water dragon. And, there's, some turmoil in this kingdom that needs to be dealt with the dragon and the prince, and I won't say much more. But yeah, the dragons in this are so cool, and obviously she can talk to the dragons, and because she's a Korra. I don't think this storyline is going to last that much longer than the previous one. It might only be 1 or 2 more volumes, but yeah. I really like the series. It's one of the few isekai I enjoy, because I'm not a big isekai person, especially villainous isekai, or isekai that end up with a dude getting a harem. Oh, it's not, and stuff like that. But there is a few isekai I enjoy, like Descendants of a Bookworm, and I do quite like the Saints Magic Powers Omnipotent, and then I like this one, and I do want to try the Saviour's Book Cafe one, because that's not villainous, nor is it sort of typical male centered isekai. So yeah, I will give that one a go probably at some point. But yeah, I enjoy this one. It feels more fantasy than isekai, because obviously, yes, she has been reincarnated into another world, but she's been reincarnated as basically the same person who she was in her previous life. She looks exactly the same. She has the same name, and yeah, she's just a witch now. Well, everyone in this world mostly has magic, so I don't know why she's referred to as a witch. Yeah, it's good. It's fantasy setting with dragons. Yeah, I really like it. If you're like me and you're not a fan of isekai, still give this one a try, because I'm not a isekai fan and I like this one. It doesn't have a typical sort of isekai setting to it. It's more just fantasy. Although most isekai is fantasy, to be fair. And then on the 30th, I read Mal Volume 17, which I gave 4 stars. I like this one because it talked more about the main story. I like Mao more when it concentrates on the main plot point and on what happened in the past, rather than when it just does random battles with random demons that are not important to the story. We get that occasionally. There's occasionally a volume where the main focus is just a random demon that has absolutely nothing to do with the main plot, which I'm okay with that, but it's not as good in those volumes as it is when it's actually talking about the main plot and progressing the story, which this volume did. We learned quite a bit in this one about what happened all those years ago during that one day. And then we had some stuff after that with an artifact from the Quran that they're kind of hunting down, which are kind of related to the plot, but kind of not in a way, because it is an artifact from their Quran, but the person who's taken it is kind of just random. But yeah, the beginning half was mostly focusing on the plot, so it was a good volume. And with this being Rumiko Takahashi, I have no doubt that the series is going to be ridiculously long. But this is the most similar to Inuyasha of any of her series, and obviously Inuyasha was my obsession as a teenager. And this is kind of has a similar vibe to it, so I'm enjoying it. It still doesn't quite beat out Inuyasha for my favourite Rumiko Takahashi though, because nothing really can, because it has like that nostalgia to it, and I was that like obsessed with it for like so many years. Yeah, and that is everything I read in December, because I didn't read anything on the 31st. And I read 27 volumes in total, which is increased from the previous month where I only read 22. So that's good. I put a little arrow to indicate that I read more. For some reason. So yeah, I'm obviously 7 days into January and reading. I've read every single day apart from today. So yeah, I will be doing a haul video at some point. I'm going to be doing a sci-fi order within the next few days, and when that comes, it will be hauled. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and Happy New Year, and I hope you enjoyed like the holidays and all that, and I'll see you for another video then. Bye bye.